Y'all, I'm so excited about today's speaker. I know I say that a lot. I'm excited because I invite all of my friends to come and talk to y'all. But I am most especially excited about today because if there's anything about this pandemic that has just hurt me a little bit, is that my usual destinations where I get to spend time with this beautiful soul, Dr. Irum Tahir, they all got canceled and went virtual. And I just have a real issue with that. And she did live all the way across the country from me, but yay, she now lives a little bit closer to me, not driving distance, but close enough that it's like a 2-hour plane ride. Yes. And I'm so very excited because I absolutely just can't even put into words how much I love her inspiration that she provides so many people. If you haven't watched her TED Talk, you should, but she's always inspirational, motivational, uplifting. What you see is what you get all the time. And everyone that I know who's had the great blessing of getting to meet her and get to know her in person always says that they walk away from a conversation with her and they feel so much better about everything. And I get that. I always feel so much better when I talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that.
And this was such a popular topic last year when we discussed it. And coming from an integrated practice background, we encounter so many people who feel that the medical world doesn't understand us and they're against us, when that has never been my experience in chiropractic. And you have built an incredible practice using this information. And so I'm so excited to have you here today to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. I cannot wait. This was such a popular topic last time, and I just can't wait to do this again. And there's been a couple of tweaks. I think it'll be even better than last time. So I'm very, very excited to have ChiroHealthUSA have me here. Thank you for that. So there I was sitting face to face with Sean. Sean was a patient of mine, and he was a new patient. He had come into my practice because of something that had happened the day before. The day before, he had had a terrible situation. His little daughter, Lily, asked him, "Daddy, can I go out to play with you?" And being only 5 years old, she didn't know that she may be asking not at the right time. And his response was to take her, shake her, scream at her, curse at her, and say, "No, no, no." And that's when he realized he had a problem. Sean was addicted to opioids. And that was the last straw. He had been addicted for many, many months at this point. And he originally got his prescription from the doctor's office for low back pain. When the prescription ran out, he was starting to get the opioids from on the black market from his construction site. His addiction was costing the family an extra $1,000 a month. And he was violent with his family, with his wife, and with his children. When that issue happened with Lily, that's when he realized he had to do something about it. And that's how he ended up in my office. Sean, of millions and millions of people that suffer, sometimes unnecessarily, because there's so many things that we can do as chiropractors for patients that have low back pain, that have neck pain, that have issues that we can help solve. And maybe they don't need medication, maybe they don't need surgery, maybe they don't need opioids. Did you know that prescription drug abuse is the strongest risk factor for heroin abuse or dependence? And we know this now more than ever. 210 million people are on at least one prescription medication. 210 million people. And that's not even counting people who have 3 or 4 or 5 medications. We know that we're an over-medicated society and that we as chiropractors want to do something about it, but sometimes we don't always feel like we can. So I believe that chiropractic chose you. For me, that moment with Sean sitting in front of me, chiropractic chose me. It's not just a calling. It's not just a profession. It's a way of life for us. And if you think back to the moment that you decided to become a chiropractor and you knew you wanted to change people's lives, you know that chiropractic chose you. You were called into serving. You were called into healing. You were called into helping as many people as you possibly can. We have the answer to the world's problems. Now, this is a picture of when I was working with refugees that were escaping the Syrian war, and there were refugees in Jordan. This is a beautiful picture of a child that's laughing, but it's also a really sad picture, because what most people don't know when they see this picture is this is actually a tent. This is a tent, and the family had taken everything that they have. So if they had this carpet right here, they took that. They took pillows. They took whatever they had, and they escaped from the treacherous war in Syria, and they walked all the way to Jordan, and they became refugees. And since they are not citizens of Jordan, they didn't have health care. And so I saw that there was a group of medical doctors that go out to different areas of the world, whether it's working with the refugees, whether it's working in Pakistan and Africa. They work in disaster relief areas of the United States. They're medical doctors that go in and help people. And there was a group of medical doctors that were going to be going, and there were about 20 of them. And I wanted to go as a chiropractor. And I knew the person who was running the program, and I said to him, I need to go to work with the refugees. And he said, it's full, there's no way. And we've never had a chiropractor before. And what is a chiropractor even going to do? We provide medicine and we provide services. But I knew I wanted to go, and I knew I wanted to help. And I knew that I wanted to put my hands on these refugees to be able to give them that adjustment. And maybe it's one adjustment, maybe it'll be 2 adjustments, maybe it'll be 5 in the course of a week and a half that we were there. But it was going to be something. So I basically weaseled my way into this program, and I was there with 19 medical doctors and a pharmacist, and then there was me. And in the beginning, everybody said, why are you here? Why do you want to be, why would a chiropractor be helpful to the refugees? And I started talking to them. I started talking to them about low back pain. I started talking to them about neck pain. I started talking to them about sciatica, because that's where I knew they would understand. And then from there, I started talking to them about ear infections and bedwetting and PTSD, and bringing the body from that sympathetic fight or flight state into the parasympathetic. And for me, with this picture, I love it because it's this level of joy that you can see here. You can see that this child had this moment of joy, even though she's a refugee and they have nothing left. They had this moment of joy with this adjustment. So we have the answer to the world's problems if we step into it. So chiropractic chose me. I've been a chiropractor for 14 years. I started out just with a small practice, renting space from another chiropractor. That practice grew, kept expanding it, moved it into my own location in 6 months, expanded that location, got it bigger. And I have had some great honors in this profession that I've chosen to serve. I was named one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in the United States under the age of 30 by President Obama. I was invited to present at the White House on behalf of chiropractic and entrepreneurship. And then at the United Nations, I've done a TED Talk that's crossed 500,000 views. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. Talking about limiting beliefs that hold us back and the physical and mental component of health. And my practice is in Syracuse, New York. I started it, like, as I mentioned, just by renting space, and it's become the busiest practice in the city. And I have a couple of associates, functional medical doctor and massage therapist, and we see hundreds of people a week. The amazing thing is that I can live anywhere in the world. So I was living in San Diego, California, and then I've just moved to Annapolis, but I could live in Sri Lanka if I wanted to. And it's because of systems, number one. And number two, it's because of what I'm going to speak about today, which is medical doctor relationships. When I started working directly with medical doctors and getting streams of referrals into my practice, I increased my practice revenue by $250,000. And that is possible for me. It's possible for you. So in the short time that we have together today, I'm going to share with you the exact strategies that I used with getting to work with medical doctors and never having to worry about where my new patients were going to be coming from. This is my practice. I'm very proud of it. It looks beautiful in the winter. It looks beautiful in the summer. And if any of you are ever up here in upstate New York, I'm happy to have you come on up and take a look at our practice. For the last 7 years, I've coached chiropractors, and we have created a program called Ignite the Spark. You may have heard of it. And in this program, what we do is we work with chiropractors, and a lot of them have been burnt out, have been stressed about trying to get new patients in the door that are consistent. And what we do is we do weekend retreats. We do MD referral courses that I'm going to talk a little bit about at the end. And we actually are going into presenting into leadership retreats, which is managing teams, your team, and managing your employees, and how to recruit the right people and how to keep good people in your practice, because we are nothing without our team, and we know that. And so we're going to go into leadership, and we do our weekend retreats, and we do one-on-one work as well. So what I want you to think about is going to be painkiller pain versus I need a vitamin. Now, you and I know that if we shattered a humerus like this, we would want some painkillers, because that would be extremely, extremely painful, right? We have painkiller pains in our life and in our business. And then there's, I need a vitamin. You know, I'm going to do better if I take magnesium. I'll do better if I take vitamin C regularly. I'll do better with fish oil, right? I need a vitamin, but it's keeping me going, but it's not this painkiller pain. So what I want you to do in the next slide is, these are the major painkiller pains that I have found working in chiropractic practices all across the country. I have found it when I've been speaking at events like Parker, Christy and I have been on a couple of different events together. You know, I have polled chiropractors all across this great nation, and I have found that these are the major painkiller pains that are happening in a practice, in a typical practice. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at where you are, and then we are going to be putting a poll out, and you're going to be able to see. So not enough income, huge, right? I don't have enough income to be able to buy the things I want, to invest back in my business. Or have you ever heard, I don't have enough time for that. I'm running out of time. I don't have enough time. I can't get my notes done on time. I've definitely heard that one. Uncertainty of the future of the practice. Now, COVID definitely created a lot of uncertainty in our practices, right? Even if you had the most, viable practice before the pandemic, there's still that level of uncertainty of what's going to happen and how we're going to get through it. But nonetheless, even when there isn't a pandemic, there can be uncertainty. You may be asking yourself, where is my practice going? Where is it growing? And I don't know where that is. I'm not reaching goals, either personally or professionally. No plan of action for the practice. What's the plan? Where are the goals? And how are we achieving those with a clear plan of action? Feeling like you're not contributing to the family income as you want, right? Maybe you're not making as much money as you want. I've seen a lot of anxiety and self-esteem issues, and chasing products to make up for lack of income, like oils, pillows, MLM. You know, there's nothing wrong with those things. I sell pillows in my practice. I have, supplements. There's nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes I've found that some chiropractors can't make this work with the chiropractic part of it. So they have to try to make up for it with the income with other things. And there's, again, nothing wrong with that. But we want to make sure that we can really focus on that chiropractic, because chiropractic will always bring in way more income than any products can. It's just the way that it is. So for the most part, if that's where we can really focus, that's always going to be best. And I think Christy is going to be sending us our poll results here. Okay, so, thank you, Christy. Okay, so it looks like from the poll, the highest percentage is not reaching goals, personal and professional. And I can definitely relate to that. I have felt that before. And anxieties and self-esteem issues, those were the two biggest ones, as well as not enough income. So we're going to talk about that today. I have been in that situation where I didn't feel like I was reaching my personal goals. I wasn't reaching my professional goals. I felt like I couldn't get ahead. I wasn't making the income I wanted. I remember just crying before, like, what do I do? How do I do this? And honestly, since I've increased the working with medical doctors and speaking their language, that has been a game changer for me. And in
everybody. Welcome to Dr. Tahir. It's Solomon.
There we go. So just a very powerful way to be able to work with medical doctors directly. So I want you that you are on this webinar, I want you to look at these 8 components here. These are what I found are the foundations for efficient and effective, profitable, and automated practice. So you want to ask yourself and begin to ask yourself, where am I with each of these? Okay. So foundation of your business with a healthy revenue stream, equipped with patient care. You can give yourself a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. Do you have a clear patient flow and an assessment for inefficiencies in that flow? This is one of the biggest things we do in our courses, is making sure that we have a really good flow, because 100% of the time when we look at inefficiencies in that flow, we always find money. We always find income. Do you have a great team in place with clear methods of leading the team? Do you have performance improvement plans in place? Ask yourself that, right? Understanding how to communicate chiropractic to the patient and the value of care with or without insurance, and incorporating care plans. You know, ChiroHealthUSA is great with helping with this part as well. And I also think that it's very important to make sure that a patient understands how to that the value of care is and how it's going to work even when they don't have insurance. Great relationships with medical doctors and streams of referrals. Hiring excellent associates. This is possible, and it's possible to do this in a great and very powerful way. Become considered the go-to expert in your city, and learn to automate and execute systems using a policies and procedures manual. So these are components of a practice, and that we always keep working on this. Even in my practice, all of the systems that I have, we still make sure to keep looking at all of these. So we want to continually look at this, and I think this is being recorded, so you can always go back and look at this slide as well, and compare yourself even in a year where you are. Now, if you need any help with any of this, like we have, you can have help. There's always ways to be able to correct for this and learn what you need to learn. So I'm sure that many of you, just like me, have done this with methods of acquiring new chiropractic patients. So maybe you've done screenings in a mall or a festival. Maybe you've done farmers markets, health fairs, talks in libraries, group talks, Google ads, Facebook ads. A lot of times those don't always bring in the best quality patients because they don't come in from a referral. But they do work at times, although it can be very pricey. Google search and reviews, maybe have good reviews or not. New patient specials, like come in for $49 and you'll get everything under the sun. And internal referrals and external referrals, and referrals from a patient's medical doctor. Now, because our society, whether we like it or not, most people usually go to a medical doctor first before they go anywhere else. If they get a direct referral from a medical doctor, they are able to probably be sticking with care a lot longer. They are more trusting. They are more likely to follow your care plan, and they're just overall really refer other people as well too. There is a trust that the medical doctor has in this society, and whether we like it or not, it's there, and so we can use that with what we're going to be working with today. How a lot of people ask, how did I get into this? How did I start wanting to work with medical doctors or OBGYNs? So my dad is a medical doctor, and that's something that, growing up, I was always expected to be a medical doctor. That's just what I was going to do. That was going to be my life. And, I know how the pharmaceutical industry worked, because when we were kids, my dad had his own practice, and we saw pharmaceutical reps coming in and out of our practice. We saw them giving away. We saw them how they educated. So I learned a lot about exactly what they did and what the process is. But also growing up in our community, if you know Pakistani or Indian culture, there's a lot of medical doctors. So everybody in my community was a medical doctor. Their kids were all medical doctors. So I understand the psychology of the medical doctor. I understand exactly what they're looking for. And you can learn this too. This program, that when I'm going to share with you today, it took me 2 years to build it out, but it won't take you that long if you learn it and you're able to cut the learning curve. We all know how we feel when we have these spinal screenings, right? We're exhausted. We've taken our stuff all over, lugged it all over the place, and we get there and we have to take it all apart and put it, all out there. And then we're talking to people at a festival about low back pain, and can be some awkwardness, weirdness. It's really challenging. I couldn't stand doing spinal screenings. In fact, I despise them. I really do. I just felt like I'm a doctor. Why am I at this festival doing this? And it's not effective. And I was just, people were there to have fun or to buy their groceries or kale. And I'm like, trying to talk to them and get them in and talk to them about their health. And it was very challenging. So I became the #1 pregnancy chiropractic center in Central New York. It is actually in all of upstate New York at this point. We see referrals from 16 to 18 OBGYNs, midwives, and doulas on a regular basis. And I've been able to hire multiple associates with what I'm going to show you today. And this program can be used for OBGYNs. You can use it, what I'm going to talk about today, you can use it with neurologists. You can use it for orthopedic. You can use it for internal medicine. I'd say the only thing it doesn't really work with is pediatrics. Pediatricians are very difficult. That's my next thing that I'm actually working on and thinking about and figuring out about how we can have more education with pediatricians. But they're not really receptive to chiropractic care for children. And there's not a lot of support with the American Academy of Pediatrics as well. So they're very closed off. But other than them, any other profession that's in the medical world, really, you can use these tactics with. So we're going to target our efforts, energy, time, and money effectively when we're marketing to our patients. It's the difference between a kaleidoscope, like going to a screening. And I'm not trying to put down screenings. They can work. I have gotten a few patients from that. But the difference between doing it that way and laser beam focused, working with medical doctors, it was like night and day. So I want you to understand how to become the go-to expert in your community. And we can make sure that your practice has that area of expertise and that you're known for that area of expertise. And there's very specific ways to be able to do that. So working hand in hand with medical doctors is the best way to generate new patients consistently. One of the things that we do is we have an 8-week course of how to work with OBGYNs or with medical doctors. And then we also have one on a weekend. But I always use this slide because I love it. Most of us, we think medical doctor as chiropractors, and you on here may not be thinking this way, but this is what I found. In the chiropractic profession, it's like, ooh, working with medical doctors, I don't want to do that. Or what are they going to say? Or are they, they don't like our big proponent, they're not proponents of chiropractic. But I think it's when, we actually have collaborate with them and co-manage our patients with them, that's when this synchrony can occur. That's when this beautiful collaboration can occur. And we can still keep our philosophy, and it doesn't matter if you're an upper cervical doctor, if you are in, Tulsa, or if you're in Miami. You can work this and work with the language of the medical doctors. So these are the 9 things that you're going to need with working with medical doctors for consistent streams of referrals. You must give in order to get, okay? You must give in order to get. You must speak in the evidence-based language of the medical doctor. Some of my greatest mentors have taught me philosophy, and I am very, very appreciative of that, and I live that, and I do that in our practice here. I incorporate that in our practice here for sure. But when it comes to medical doctors, they don't understand that part of it. They really only understand musculoskeletal issues, some neurological issues. Beyond that, they don't really get it. But from that philosophical point of view, so you have to target yourself and work within the language of what they are looking for. Then when the patient's in your practice, you can educate them, you can help them understand what the next steps are, you can help them understand about maintenance and wellness, all of that. But when we have that initial conversation with the medical doctor, unless you're having, you've had like a relationship over many years, then you can bring it up and you can help them understand a little bit more. You want to zero in on your ideal client that you are passionate about working with. So a lot of us get drained and exhausted because we're not working with the ideal client that you're passionate about. So for me, it was pregnancy. For you, you may be really passionate about thoracic outlet syndrome or migraines or low back pain. So if you have a pen and paper right now, I want you to write down what type of patient you are really passionate about working with. I want you to think laser beam, not kaleidoscope. We already discussed that. And then focus in on the type of doctor that services the type of patients you are passionate about. So for example, internal medicine, it could be like people with headaches or neurology. Having a clear system and procedure to keep track of doctors you have worked with and who are referring regularly. So when we teach our courses, this is one of the biggest things, is we talk about prospecting and we talk about keeping a very clear system and procedure to keep track of what it is that you, the doctors that you have worked with and the doctors that you haven't worked with, and how those notes that you have to keep sending out to them. You must send in your patient information and notes to the doctors. We just discussed that. And then quarterly checkups with the MD's offices, and then great systems in place to handle all of the referrals coming your way. So we want to make sure that we may have a flood of referrals coming in, but we want to make sure that also our practice is able to handle that. So the first thing you're going to do is we want to get past the gatekeeper. And there's more to it than, of course, we don't have all the time in the world to describe this or talk about it. But one of the biggest things is getting past the gatekeeper. And I'm going to share with you a very specific phrase that you're going to use. Now, of course, there's more nuances around this and there's more to it. But you're going to say, I'm going to go on into the practice, and you're going to use this phrase. Chances are we share patients in common. Because if it's a local practice, chances are that you actually could be sharing patients in common, and that you want to be able to set up a time to work with a medical doctor. So chances are we share patients in common. So it's a great way to be able to help them understand that, you know what, we could share patients in common, but it's all about the patients. And that's one big thing as well. It's got to come back to the patients. You want to zero in on the type of patient your practice is passionate about working with. What do I mean by that? So we usually do an ideal client exercise in our courses too, but we want to work with MDs who see the same population. A lot of times we're casting such a wide net that we want to make sure that, we actually have the ability to work with that ideal client. So is your ideal client a 30-year-old woman who loves doing yoga and has 2 kids? Or is your ideal client a gentleman who's a plumber and has chronic migraines? Or is your ideal client a 50-year-old accountant who is single but has to sit a lot and is really weak in core? We cast often a really wide net because we label ourselves as chiropractors and we want to work with everybody, but that doesn't always work. And so when we can zero in on the type of patients you're actually passionate about working with, and then enrolling other people in your practice in that passion, and then every decision you make, whether it's hiring, anything to do with your practice, you can go back to that. You say, are we actually, wanting to work with this type of patient? Do we want to have this type of employee working here? Or do we not? Do they share a passion? Having a clear system in place to generate and keep track of referrals from the medical doctor. So this is so key because if you're going to do this, you've got to be really, really prepared and planned because when you actually are getting to present to the medical doctor, you don't want any surprises. So one of the things that I always recommend is that you know who the doctors are that work in that practice and the nurse practitioners, because those are the people, and you know who they are by name. So you research them, you understand who they are, and you understand their credentials. So this here is a tracking sheet. It's actually a screenshot of one of my exact tracking sheets. Now it's an older one, but I have a very clear system. I've done this in Google Sheets. And in Google Sheets, I've put the name of the practice. I've put all their information, their phone numbers. They've got 2 locations. I've put their website here, and I've put, all of the people who work in this practice. Now, when I go back and I've, have an opportunity to meet with the doctors, I come back and I write this in the comments section, and I always stay up on top of it. Then another sheet we'll discuss about the internal referrals, because there's something called a direct and an indirect referral. And so you can kind of work a little bit with internal referrals as well in your practice, and how we can correlate that with these referring providers. But from right now, we want to make sure. So for me, I always have a legend. I don't have a picture of the legend here, but the legend is always, red means they're not interested. Like, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you understand some of the sales training that we teach, no matter how much you understand the nuances, there are just going to be some providers that are going to say, nope, not interested, never going to work with a chiropractor, and they've closed off themselves. And those people you're just never going to reach. And we have to accept that. We know that sometimes it does, hurt as well, and it has for me. But I can't reach everybody, and I'm not for everybody, right? Then for green, so purple means, which isn't here, but purple means in process. So purple means that we're going to, we are in the process of trying to get an appointment. Green means we actually got an appointment, so we have that meeting set for April 29th. Pink means we actually have a relationship set. So now we have a relationship set, and now we have to make sure that we keep that relationship going. So a tracking sheet like this is very important. And you want to make sure as well that we speak in the language of the medical doctor and use an evidence-based approach. So before this webinar, I just finished teaching and one of our courses. And one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize is the pieces of research. The pieces of research that you will use with the medical doctor. As I mentioned, they need to see clear research in journals, like JMPT is a really good one. You can find really good research on NIH. You can find it on ResearchGate. There's a couple of different places we can find really good pieces of research. If you have any questions about this, you can always email me. I'll provide that at the end. But we always want to use that evidence-based approach, because that's the language of the doctor. They don't understand certain things, as I mentioned, but if it's linked back to musculoskeletal care or neurological care, they'll understand that, and they'll welcome it and appreciate it. So that's why they really do require that. So now when we get into this MD relationship program, what are we going to actually do? So what we've talked about is preparation. We're going to prepare with knowing what to say to the gatekeeper. We want to prepare with making sure we have our tracking sheet. We want to prepare with making sure that we have some things in place, right? When we talk about the research, that's the first thing, right? So if I was speaking to a doctor, I'd say, Dr. Jones, did you know that according to JMPT, 84% of women who received spinal manipulative therapy while pregnant reported relief of back pain during pregnancy? There was also a significant reduction of back labor during delivery when spinal manipulative therapy was used. Perfect. We used a journal. This is great. We have the research presented with a nice little graphic like this. Awesome. Okay. One of the other things that doctors always want to know, and I've shared a slide from one of the presentations I do with the OBGYNs, is that chiropractic is safe. We have to handle the objections in the presentation so that we are not given those objections after. So we want to handle those objections ahead of time, right? There's no known contraindications to chiropractic through pregnancy when treated by a trained certified chiropractor. All the chiropractors at High Point Chiropractic Wellness have received additional training, and we have special equipment to work with pregnant women. So you want to preface it, you want to put that into the presentation. You want to help them understand as well, what are the common complaints for your specific condition? So for me, it's pregnancy, right? You can say, for example, common complaints of a herniated disc. If you're really passionate about low back pain and disc pain, Great. Okay. So here are the common complaints. There's low back pain. It can have radicular pain. It can have pain that travels. It can have neurological deficit. So you can have all of these listed, and that's very important. So I became the #1 pregnancy chiropractic center in upstate New York. And, a lot of it was with communication and with education of the medical doctor. They want to learn. If we can allow the opportunity to happen, I created a very specific brochure for working with pregnant women. Again, you would find the area that you really enjoy working with, and you can create it along the lines. But one of the things I really want to mention is I actually put, and it's maybe a little hard to see it's not possible to zoom in here, but if you look in here, we can see that I've added the research into this. So this brochure, for example, it's been created for a layperson, but it's also been created for an OBGYN. Okay, so we can do the same with other medical doctors. One of the biggest things is sending notes regularly to medical doctors with exam findings, follow-up notes, changes in health history. You have to be on top of this. If you're going to do it, you have to be on top of this, really. I mean, it's like every week they have to get sent out. And one of the biggest things, too, is, when these patients come in, of course, some of them will have insurance and some of them may not. Or if they have insurance, the insurance may end. But I really do believe it's our responsibility as a chiropractic team to educate the patient about wellness and show that value for maintenance care after insurance has ended. I know ChiroHealth helps with this. I think if you learn to build care packages, that can be a big thing that can help. But just also communicating the language, it's very, very important. So I know that this wasn't everything we could talk about because we do have not all the time in the world to talk about it. But we do offer an MD referral program where you can learn the proven system that we use to work with medical doctors. You learn specific language to get past the gatekeeper. We collaborate with the medical doctor for the best patient care. And one of the biggest things is helping to understand what sets you apart from other chiropractors and other physical therapists. What's a clear and systematized method to present to the medical doctors? Like, what do you actually say to them? And how do you handle objections from them? And then how do you become known as the go-to expert in your community? So how do you zero in on the type of patient you enjoy helping the most and making sure that your time and your efforts are maximized as much as possible? So we have a course coming up April 24th, 2021. 9 to 12 p.m. Eastern. The courses have been very popular. If you go to www.ignite-spark.com, you'll find out about it. But what I've done, because ChiroHealthUSA has been so generous to the chiropractic profession, this was very popular last time. We actually got completely maxed out with it. So it was really, really popular and is very helpful for a lot of the doctors that took it. What we're going to do is you can actually bypass the payment screen and you can register by just going to this link here and registering for the webinar. It's called a webinar, but it's actually a course. So we're going to be teaching for 3 hours. We're going to go in depth into this, and we're offering it complimentary for all of our webinar attendees here. So if you have any issues or anything with this, you just can let me know. But I really do appreciate what ChiroHealthUSA does. And also, it's been very important, I think, to give back to the profession as well. So this is a link that you can go to as well. And that can be something that that can really definitely help as well. If you have any trouble registering, let me know. This is my personal email address, irumtahirdc@gmail.com. Again, go over to www.ignite-spark.com and you can find out more about the course and the other courses, some of what we do. I am on Instagram at instagram.com/ the Dr. Irum Tahir. I was thinking about it for a minute. Dr. Irum Tahir. And then I am on Facebook as well, too. So although I'm running out of friends there, so I'm running out of space for friends. So, but you can definitely find me on there as well. And, I'm also very happy to answer any questions. If you want a copy of, for example, if you'd like a copy of the exact script that we use with the gatekeeper, I'm happy to share that. If you either if you sign up for the MD referral course, or if you contact me through the email, I can send you the exact script that you would use with the gatekeeper to get your foot in the door. And that's the thing. The cool thing is that once you get your foot in the door, and there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. I really do believe that, because I've myself done it the wrong way, even though I have all this expertise and everything. So I've learned from my mistakes. But some of our clients have done it the wrong way as well, or people who maybe haven't followed the exact protocol. But these opportunities, they don't come around very often, right? All of the chiropractors in our city want to be able to work with those medical doctors, but how do you actually get in front of that medical doctor and present to them and showcase, your level of expertise, and without any nervousness or anxiety or anything like that? That's what we really want to focus in on. And so if you have any questions, I want you to be successful with this. I want to make sure that you get, this information, because it is something that we can help reach more patients. And that's ultimately my reason for doing it. I want to help reach more patients and make sure that we can, help people all around the country. And so if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them here. As well. And I am on Instagram as well. So if you're on Instagram, go ahead and follow me there. Christy, I don't know if are you on Instagram? I haven't seen.
I'm on Instagram. I never post on I barely post on social media. It comes up a lot in marketing meetings.
You have a lot of very interesting life. So I'd say, you should post more. But anyway, I mean, the Instagram's great, and you can connect, and if you, go ahead and follow me, or if I don't know if you're following Christy, but if you follow me, I can always follow you back and make sure that we can support each other, and then that's the link again. Thank you for sharing that. But that's the link for registering for the MD referral course as well too. So it's very exciting.
You're always very exciting.
Thank you. Well, I'm passionate about this. I just see the difference it makes, and it's a game changer. It really is, and it really has been for a lot of the practices that we've worked with. So I'm very passionate about it, and I just want to help more chiropractors. Really, it's what it's all about.
I love that about you. I love lots of things about you, but I do love that you have such a huge heart and soul for helping other people to succeed.
Yes. Well, I think, I use, what I use? I use something called the rocking chair test. So I don't know if you ever heard about that, but I think when I want to make a decision or want to think about what I want to do with my life, I think about myself as an 85-year-old woman in a rocking chair. And I say, well, what will I be thinking then? Will I want to do this? And, honestly, we can have all the money in the world. We can have everything, all the things that we want. But at the end, it's all about impact. It's who we've impacted. It's the lives we've impacted. And that's why I am passionate about this, because if I can reach a chiropractor that's here, that's in Minnesota, and someone else that's in Nebraska, and someone else is in Hawaii, and someone else in Alaska, and they can see more people, that's how we can get more people under chiropractic care. That's my evil plan. That's what we want to do. So that's why we try to give many resources as we can, to make it work for people.
That's my plan too. I love it. I did have somebody a couple of weeks ago. I spoke in Florida.
Yes.
Where was I? St. Augustine. I had to think about it for a second. Where was I? Not that I travel so much, I shouldn't be able to remember.
Are you traveling without us knowing?
No. Well, SCA is still doing their in-person events. They're doing hybrids. So I am flying in person to be live streamed.
Yes.
It's a scary thought. You don't want to wear a skirt when you do that, just FYI. Because if you drop something, you automatically think to bend over, but then there's always cameras on you. So you just have to be careful. But that's a whole nother thing. But somebody did ask me, he said, you're so passionate about it. Why aren't you a chiropractor? And I was like, that's so funny. I didn't even know about chiropractic until after I started working for Dr. Foxworth. And when I interviewed with him, I didn't even know he was a chiropractor.
What?
So I showed up at his office.
Are you serious?
I didn't know that it was a chiropractic office. I didn't really know anything about chiropractic. And I remember about like 9 to 10 months into working there, I was so blown away by the work that was being done. And I'm like, why have I not known about this my whole life? And I want to be a chiropractor. And I remember telling Dr. Jay Greenstein that at FCA National, we were talking, I was like, I want to go to chiropractic school. I want to be a chiropractor.
Wow.
And he said, you will do more good for chiropractic by not being a chiropractor.
Oh.
It was like, the more you do for chiropractors, the more patients they'll be able to serve. And ultimately, you'll have a bigger impact on the profession.
Yeah.
So the doctor asked me, he's like, why aren't you a chiropractor? And I said, because a wise chiropractor once told me that I will make a bigger impact on the profession by not being a chiropractor. And I don't regret that decision, because my 14, almost 15-year-old is dead set that he is going to be a chiropractor.
Oh, that just gives me chills. I love that. Yes, I love that. I love that. And that's the impact right there too, you know.
It is.
I mean, that's what it's really all about, right? You know, that's what we just have this one life. So we got to make it like the best we possibly can and impact as many lives. And, you know, and there are a lot of people. I mean, I think that's one of the things too. There's a lot of people, and you know this, that are struggling with drugs and addiction and surgery. You know, like they don't have other options. They don't know they have other options. But if they do go to a chiropractor, at least they have other options. And they may still need surgery, okay, right? But they have other options, and they've tried it and they've tested it, and you know, and maybe they don't need surgery, or maybe their migraines aren't interfering with their life. And that's the thing, is like, that's the impact too, right? It's like the ripple effect, because then we help that, like, you know, 50-year-old woman with chronic migraines, and then she has a better relationship with her kids, or she's better at work. She gets a promotion. She's happier. Now she starts losing weight. She goes for daily walks, you know, like she's, you know, moving. And that's what we do. But with chiropractic, we get people moving, but not just physically. We get people like emotionally, you know, mentally, like in their life. I mean, I've seen such miracles, you know, with this work, and we're so blessed to be a part of this. And so that's really what my why is, for sure. It sounds like they're similar.
Well, and it's funny because there was something that you had on there, and I have been working with speakers all week, getting their stuff ready for other virtual events that are coming up. And somebody had on there, it was Aaron Reynolds, and he had on his slide, in order to be intentional, you must find your purpose, cause, and passion. And I posted that quote in there because of anything. That's what I told him after we were done. I was like, if anything that you said, which was phenomenal, but that one was the one that hit me the most.
Oh, I love that.
Our core values, one of them is to face each day with passion and enthusiasm. And I joke with Dr. Foxworth that I ask him all the time, do you regret ever putting that into our core values? Because I'm pretty sure that's the one right there that creates like the most pain for him, because I will fight to the death when I am passionate about something. Like, we're not letting this go. Like, I'm telling you that we're going to do this, but you don't really have a choice. Because I'm doing it with passion and enthusiasm. And he's like, yes, sometimes that one gives me a little bit of migraines. He's like, but I love it, because who gets up every day and has passion and enthusiasm for the work that they do?
Yeah.
Because I meet so many chiropractors that I used to ask them, why did you become a chiropractor? Because they were so down about documentation and coding, and there was regulations and all this kind of stuff that was weighing them down, because that's not what they went to school for. And you have to reconnect with that. What is your why? Don't let all that other stuff get in the way of your attention. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And I love that though. I mean, that's like a really high value to be able to keep consistently, you know, with the passion and enthusiasm, because some days you don't feel passionate or enthusiastic, especially if you're having a bad day or, you know, bad things are happening in life. Or, I mean, were you guys able to continue on with that through COVID? Like, I mean, really, you know?
When, you know, well, and we talked about that before, you know, one of the things that was said during COVID that hit me the most was when Fab said, not what did COVID do to me, but what did COVID do for me? Yeah. And you and I were talking about all of the things that happened in our lives as soon as the pandemic hit, which initially my whole world turned upside down overnight. I left and the world was normal. No joke. I flew out on my birthday to an event in South Carolina. I left South Carolina and I flew to Florida for an event, and everything was normal. The airport was normal. People were not wearing masks. There was a little bit of news media, but nobody was watching it about what was going on in China. That was it. And so that was a Thursday and a Friday. By Saturday, I'm getting text messages from Delta saying they don't know if they can fly me home on Sunday.
Ooh, wow.
Right. And so I'm thinking, okay, now how do I get home from Orlando? And I don't understand what's going on. And then everybody's watching. All of a sudden, the hotel brings out all of these hand sanitizer stations everywhere. And they're asking people if they want to wear a mask, which was at a chiropractic conference. Everybody's looking at them like they're crazy. We were like, what are you talking about? And so we're making preparations to figure out, everybody is trying to figure out how they're going to get home if they can't get on a plane the next day.
Wow.
I get on the plane the next day. It's like me and 10 people versus a full flight. Yeah. I get to Atlanta. Everybody has on a mask. Some people are dressed like in hazmat suits. And I'm like, what has happened? Everything is closed. You can't order drinks. You can't get food. Nothing's going on. So I get on the plane. I come home. And I get a text message as soon as I land that says, because you've traveled, you've potentially been exposed to COVID-19, do not report to work tomorrow.
Whoa.
I was like, what? By noon the next day, they had sent everybody home to work from home until further notice. And here we are a year later, which ended up being ideal.
Wow.
We had never convinced Dr. Foxworth that we could be very efficient at home. And what we found out is that we do the work of like 2 full-time teams at home and have.
Wow.
But that is literally what happened. I left, the world was normal. I get somewhere. I don't think I'm coming home. I come back and I called my mother and I said, I am living in the zombie apocalypse. Like, what is going on? I didn't really know what was going on. When you're in an event, you're in the event. You have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. And my mom is like, well, there's this flu virus. And I'm like, okay. But it was days before anybody else knew what was going on.
Wow. That's crazy.
It was. It's like the craziest story ever. But again, it turned out to be the biggest blessing. And every event, I was scheduled to speak in 26 cities in 2020, and they all canceled.
Wow. No, it's been and talk about uncertainty, right? Uncertainty of the future, like when you're in it, you're so stressed, you don't know like what's going on. I'm not in my routine. I'm out of the norm. It has been stressful for the world, and it has been stressful for chiropractic and for chiropractors too, because chiropractors are an island. They're in their practice, they're working, they're in this island. Okay. But when we go to those events, when we go to even these webinars, these are very helpful. But that's when you like reconnect with yourself and the profession. You can reconnect with the purpose, like you talked about.
You do. Sometimes I get so much inspiration because, again, we all work a lot, and there's a lot of stuff that we love about our jobs, and there's the stuff we like, and then there's just the stuff you have to do because it's just part of it, right? But and you do get sometimes in a rut or in a funk, but then you go back, especially because chiropractic is, I always say, like, everybody in chiropractic is hands-on, not just the docs, it's everybody. We're a touchy-feely, loving community. And you need those moments to feed off of that energy. And you don't realize how much you need it as a speaker. You do webinars, and that's one thing. But if you ever taught 6 hours talking to yourself on a webinar with no feedback, y'all, it is death.
That's really tough. Yeah.
It's so hard. But we all we just kind of rolled with punches. We did what we had to do so our docs could get their CE, so we could help as many people as we could, so we could help our associations. And it ended up being an interesting phenomenon. But we need that in person to get that energy. I miss my in-person Dr. Tahir time.
I miss my in-person time with you too. So I know I don't have anything planned for like when I'm going somewhere, where, or anything, but it'll unfold. And when I do my own events, I was telling I was doing a webinar for another, like, I really love what you guys do. So when I do my own events, you have to come to my event. And be there.
Well, it was so funny because Heather and I were talking about how much we miss you. And then We went on a trip together, and she's like, guess who I talked to today? It's like, I'm so jealous. He was like on the phone because I like randomly text her and be like, hey, I miss you. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh. I miss you guys too. That's awesome.
We're real close to that little community. See, if y'all just thought I was kidding, I do invite my friends to talk on webinars.
Well, this has been awesome. You know, I love this. Like, I'm really glad we got this information out there. I hope people register for the course. And, you know, some really great people on here and everything too. So, and Dr. Connolly's looking for the link to today's webinar.
It will be emailed to you within the hour.
Ooh, it'll be emailed within the hour. Look how efficient she is. Yes. So, and then, you know what I like about it is that link is pretty, it's like active for a while. Like you can go back, because I wanted to see what did I wear last time and what am I going to wear this time. So I went back to like last time's webinar, and I'm like, okay, I can wear the same exact thing. But yeah, I love that you guys have that recording, you know, and for anybody who wants to join our course on the 24th, you'll get that complimentary too. And if you want to find out more information about the course, you can always go to that website, ignite-spark.com too. That is efficient. I know. I don't know if I could get stuff done like that within the hour. That's like, that's why I'm not Christy Hudson.
Well, I am also the queen of automation. So if you just want to know, it will also be listed here on the archive, like it'll update tomorrow. But she's right. They live here forever. You can go back to speakers and you can go look. Oh, look, see, I can just type in. Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's nice. Very cool. I'd love to do one for you guys on leadership, team management, how to recruit the right people, how to do performance improvement plans, how to lead a team, basically, you know. I'd love to do that for you guys. So maybe that's something we think about in the works.
Oh, yeah, I'm texting you about that. I already have a date in mind and everything. She'll be back by the end of the year.
Let me know what it is. Just let me know what it is. I'll just show up for you, okay? Just let me know.
I will do that. So y'all can go and check out all the webinars we've done in the past. If you have questions, Dr. Tahir has been kind enough. I'll pop her email address back up here again. Just a reminder, here are the ones that are up here. This is not the end of the series. We have more webinars that are going to be uploaded soon. But next week, we have my other good friend, Dr. Rosemary Bachansky, the 4 pillars of practice. Y'all, she's a hoot and a half. Like, I can't describe her any other way. She is phenomenal. And then chiropractic in the military with Baron Hoig and Dr. Tim Novelli. Y'all,
that's
awesome. This one is real close to my heart. I've been working in the background some. I'm a volunteer for the Patriot Project. Tim Novelli is the founder of the Patriot Project, as is Baron Hoig, and they've been doing some amazing work, not just like on the grassroots level, but on a national level that is going to blow your mind.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yes.
Amazing.
And I'm so excited. They talk about it, but ChiroHealthUSA was a financial contributor to help make some of this stuff happen on a legislative level. And it was our absolute pleasure. Dr. Foxworth's dad, you know, back in the old days, he lied about his age to join the military, and he served in 3 branches of the military.
What?
Sure did. He's also a hoot and a half. Like, my favorite days are my days I get to spend with Dr. Matthews.
Oh, wow. That sounds like fun. Well, there's some good ones coming up for sure.
There are. And there's even more good ones coming up. If some people they're not as efficient as Dr. Tahir. Like, we talk on the phone or text. We're like, that sounds like a great idea. And then she emails it right over. That's what Dr. Rosemary did. But everybody else, it's like, you know, I got to remind them that they have if they want people to show up, they got to send me their stuff. But Mark Abla, who's from the Illinois Chiropractic Society, has done so much research on the Cures Act, and that one is phenomenal. And I've been telling everybody there's a wonderful podcast that they did with Tech Talk, which is Brad Cost and Dr. Jay Greenstein. It's a hilarious podcast, by the way. But I can send y'all the link if you email me to say, hey, what's that link to that podcast about the Cures Act. I'll send it to you. He does an amazing job of like breaking it down to like why this is important, how it actually applies to chiropractic instead of all of those crazy emails you're seeing all over the place that sounds scary and terrifying. There's nothing scary and terrifying about this. There is some stuff you need to know, but it's very beneficial to the profession. So you should definitely listen to it.
That's awesome. That sounds really good.
It's also a really good podcast. I'm not saying that because Dr. J is my BFF, but it's really, really, really funny.
I've been meaning to listen in, so I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to start you off with Dr. Cindy Howard's because it's the funniest. Dr. Foxworth has been a guest. Mark has been a guest. They just had this amazing guest who was on here about like who's really responsible for the rising cost of healthcare. Because, patients think it's doctors. Doctors blame the insurance companies. And it is the most amazing. I can't remember what her name was, but I'll send you a link to the podcast.
Oh, yeah, definitely do.
Phenomenal. I think she surpassed Cindy as the #1 podcast. But Cindy,
wow. Oh, I'd love to see that.
I only sent it to like 100 of my friends after Cindy's because I laughed so hard I was crying.
I can't believe that. I can't even imagine that.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because we are like over time now because we're chit-chatting. But y'all, thank y'all so much for being here today, for being a part of the webinar series. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place with Dr. Rosemary Bachansky. And Dr. Tahir will be back at the end of the year.
Yes. Just let me know when. I'll make it work. And thank you for all the lovely messages people wrote here too. Thank you, Dr. Tammy and Dr. Thomas and Dr. Amari. It's really appreciated. Thank you. It's very kind. And if you have any questions, definitely, find me.
Yes, because she's on social and she's fabulous. So, and you're very responsive. I will give you that. That's why I'm not as active on social. I'm not responsive.
I'm maybe a little too responsive. Like I need to get a little bit of a life. I'm like, oh my gosh. But, you have to be. That's one thing I've learned, like, and as I've matured, is like, when you're responsive, that's when the opportunities come to you quicker. If that's why I teach my team, when a patient, contacts, you contact immediately. Like nobody wants to wait. People want quick responses, and you wouldn't believe like some of the things that have happened to me because I found my second doctor because I had such a quick response, and I was like, okay, let's do an interview right now. Okay, let's do this. So it's like, I probably need to have a little bit better boundaries with my personal life and everything, but I will say the responsiveness is what makes stuff happen,
It sure does.
Yeah.
That's probably why it becomes the topic of most marketing meetings. Like, you're not being very responsive and posting enough on social.
That's not, you're very responsive. You're very on top of it. By email, though, not on, like, social media.
Oh, well, I might have I might have a very unhealthy relationship with my email.
Yeah, you're very responsive on your email.
If you wake up in the middle of the night and email me, trust me, I'm going to email you right back. I'm like, hey, I just saw your email.
I did. I emailed you last night at like midnight, and then like you emailed me right back, and I'm like, oh my god. And then you're like, and then I'm like, wait, did you get my presentation? Let me send it again. You're like, oh wait, is there another email? Because I thought there was another email. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I know.
You're obsessed with email.
I get up at 4 a.m. and I forget that that's like not normal time for people. And it was really bad when you were still in California because people would email me and I would email them back at 4 a.m. And if their phone was right next to the bed, it's like ping, ping, ping at 2 a.m. Or if you're in Alaska, that was at 1 a.m.
Yeah, those people in Alaska are not having it.
Oh, I know. And then I have people tell me, they're like, oh, I put my phone on D&D because you email me in the middle of the night. I'm like, I'm sorry. So anyway, go do great things, change the world, improve the life of your patients and the profession, and we'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank